Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders. I've never been one of these people to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think Bernie deserves a lot of credit for bringing millions of people into the progressive movement. He also deserves criticism from time to time. I have not agreed with his strategy since President Biden or my friend Joe has become president. I think he's done way too much inside baseball, not enough actually agitating on the outside and actually going against Biden and his neoliberalism and abandonment of the few policies he ran on. But his recent statements, where he rightly criticized this Inflation Reduction Act, which is not actually going to reduce inflation, but I digress, pushing amendments to make the bill better, of course, not willing to go further and actually block the bill. Within those recent statements, Bernie has joined other corporate Democrats in saying, no, we could actually just change everything. Just give us 2 or 3 more Democrats. Let me play a clip, Bernie on with Wolf Blitzer of CNN, courtesy of Case Study QB, who posts great clips on Twitter. You should follow him on Twitter. Let's take a look.
Our people in this country are hurting. Half of the people are living paycheck to paycheck. We pay the highest prices in the world for health care. We got 18 million families spending 50% of their limited incomes on housing. We have people who cannot afford childcare or pre-K. We have a home health care crisis in this country with people who are elderly or disabled are forced into nursing homes because they don't have the home health care that they need. We have millions of seniors who don't have any teeth in their mouth. They can't afford hearing aids. They can't afford eyeglasses. In other words, the working families of this country, the senior citizens, the children.
Bernie says the lesson here is we need to elect 2, 3, maybe 4 more Democrats in the Senate. I guess under the belief that that means we would get more progressive legislation than we're getting because of Manchin and Sinema basically catering to the fossil fuckers, big pharma, private equity, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know where Bernie is getting this from. I really don't. When you look at it over history, just look at Obama. There was a bit of a misconception that Obama actually had a super filibuster-proof supermajority, which in English just means 60 Democrats, which would make it so it doesn't matter if Republicans filibuster. Obama actually didn't have 60 votes at any given time. I could get into full details on that. It was Ted Kennedy when he was still alive, was sick and couldn't vote. Then other kind of things left him at 57 to 58 Democratic votes. I'll just show you this, which will kind of give you the details. In January 2009, there were 56 Senate Democrats and 2 independents who caucused with the Democrats. One of those 2 was Bernie Sanders. This combined total of 58 included Senator Ted Kennedy, whose health was failing and was unable to serve. As a practical matter, in the early months of Obama's presidency, the Senate Democratic Caucus had 57 members on the floor for day-to-day legislating. In April 2009, Pennsylvania's Arlen Specter switched parties. This meant there were 57 Democrats and 2 independents who caucused with Democrats for a caucus of 59, again, including Bernie Sanders. But with Kennedy ailing, there were still only 58 Democratic caucus members in the chamber. In May 2009, Senator Robert Byrd was hospitalized, bringing the number of Senate Dems in the chamber to 57. In July 2009, Al Franken was finally seated after a lengthy recount legal fight. At that point, the Democratic caucus reached 60, but 2 of its members, Kennedy and Byrd, were unavailable for votes. In August 2009, Kennedy died, and the Democratic caucus stood again at 59. In September 2009, Senator Paul Kirk filled Kennedy's vacancy, bringing the caucus back to 60, though Byrd's health continued to deteriorate. In January 2010, Senator Scott Brown replaced Kirk, bringing the Democratic caucus back to 59. I bring this up to point out Democrats had a near filibuster-proof majority, anywhere between 57 and 59 votes. So not enough to completely block a Republican filibuster, but they had 57 to 59 votes. Bernie is saying we need 2 to 4 more Democrats to pass progressive legislation. Well, that would mean we need right now you got 48 Democrats and 2 who caucus with the Democrats, including Bernie as independents. So that would mean we need what, 52, 53, 54 Democrats in the Senate to make legislation like this more progressive. But I just showed you a little over a decade ago, we had 57 to 59 Democrats in the Senate under Obama. And what did they do? They gave you a Republican health care plan because still there were Democrats who blocked a public option being included in Obamacare. They doubled down on the Afghanistan war. They did nothing real on climate change. They did absolutely nothing serious on financial reform after the global financial markets crashed because of the corrupt criminal bankers. Dodd-Frank was a Band-Aid for a gaping gunshot wound. This was with 57 to 59 senators a little over a decade ago. They barely put a dent in financial fraud. They barely actually added real regulation to Wall Street. Of course, I just mentioned healthcare, did nothing on climate, continued rising the military budget to insane measures. My dog's barking. She's so upset about this. I mean, it is kind of laughable to actually believe that just adding more Democrats means we're getting a $15 minimum wage, public option, any closer to a Green New Deal. Adding more Democrats might be a good, campaign slogan, good marketing, good fundraising, but recent history shows us just adding more Democrats has not gotten us actual structural change in any of these policy areas. Now, you could say, well, Jordan, that was over a decade ago. It's different. The country's moved left. So if you add, 2, 3, 4 more Democrats to make Manchin and Sinema obsolete, then you would more likely have, progressive legislation. Okay, well, I just told you what 57 to 59 Democrats in the Senate accomplished over a decade ago. Let's test that theory that adding, 2 to 4 more Democrats which would bring you to 53 or 54 in the Senate. What would that accomplish? Would it get you a $15 minimum wage, which, by the way, at this point is the conservative position? I mean, a $15 minimum wage with inflation these days is closer to what, like $13.50, $14. And by the way, if they pass the $15 minimum wage tomorrow, it doesn't actually go into effect right away. It would be staggered and go up slowly over several years. So by the time you actually got a $15 minimum wage, with inflation, with gentrification, rising costs, it wouldn't get you so far. But let's just, go on that, the $15 minimum wage. I mean, this is literally from last year. 8 Democrats deflect on a $15 minimum wage hike, which was a Bernie Sanders amendment. The Senate on Friday is set to squash a bid to tack a $15 minimum wage to President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus aid bill, with 8 Democratic caucus members joining all 50 Republicans in rejecting the change. The vote remained held open Friday afternoon at a tally of 42 to 58, while senators negotiated on other issues. Joe Manchin, John Tester of Montana, Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire, Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire voted against proceeding, though the tally remains open. So did 2 close Biden allies, Chris Coons and Tom Carper of Delaware. Angus King, who caucuses with Senate Democrats and is an independent from Maine, also opposed it. Well, interesting. Under what Bernie's saying and the corporate Democrats, I'm not calling Bernie a corporate Democrat, but what Bernie is saying is if we just get a couple more Democratic senators, we could get real things through, like a $15 minimum wage. Well, here you have 8 Democrats who voted against it, 2 from Biden's Delaware backyard. I wonder why. Has anything to do with the banks they're taking money from and other special interests? So I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm not telling you to vote for Democrats, not vote for Democrats, go third party. You do what you want. But I'm here to give you a dust of reality. Just getting more Democrats in is not an automatic ticket to increasing the minimum wage, to actually pushing the PRO Act through, which would be a huge, huge accomplishment, massively important in terms of strengthening the protections for labor unions, making it easier to organize a union, making it easier to go on strike, which would be really, really helpful now when you see this union movement, Starbucks workers, Amazon workers, Trader Joe's workers, Apple workers, Verizon workers. Biden barely talks about it. If they got more Democratic senators, you think all of a sudden the PRO Act would be pushed through? No. So I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know if Bernie's naive. Well, I do know Bernie's naive based on having covered him in 2016 and 2020. But I don't know if this is naivete, this is wishful thinking, or just, hey, trying to stop the Republicans from taking over the House and the Senate. So say what I need to say. But the issue here is not just give us a few more Democrats. The issue here is, in many ways, Manchin and Sinema have been the rotating villains. Sure, they have blocked things, but they have given cover to other Democrats who can come out and say, I'm for X, Y, and Z, and I would vote for X, Y, and Z, but in practice, don't actually have to be tested on it. They don't actually have to. They could vote yes on it because they know these two villains are going to vote no, so it won't pass. What if they actually had the numbers that made Manchin and Sinema obsolete? It's not automatic that these same people saying, I'll vote yes on X, Y, and Z, will vote yes on X, Y, and Z. So I think, honestly, it's very, very wishful thinking that just getting a couple more Democrats in there will get us a raise to the minimum wage, a public option, or even sniffing Medicare for all, Green New Deal, et cetera, et cetera. Sorry, but that's the reality. And I don't believe Bernie Sanders should be pushing that bullshit. Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.